this is just labeled I thing.
I think.
I labeled these as indescript as I could, just so there was no bias.
Oh, wild.
So this is I thing. Here we go, everyone. This is the I thing that we are going to turn into an item. So I'm immediately, I'm getting a portal. I'm feeling like
I was feeling that as well. But it also, for whatever reason, makes me very reminiscent of a mirror.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like something you hang on your wall and then you activate it and it turns into this. I was also thinking maybe like a replacement,
like a glass eye or something like that.
I see like an energy source. Okay, a very rare type of battery.
Okay, interesting. Maybe like the core of something.
Yeah. Oh. What if this is like a Lich's phylactery?
Okay.
Like this.
That would be really cool.
Like arcane focus, maybe a frozen explosion. Oh man, that gives me Doctor Who vibes, obviously. Man, so here's an idea.
Frozen explosion is a very cool idea.
Oh, okay. I got an idea for this one. What if this is a uber powerful artificer type of grenade where they took an explosion you normally couldn't contain,
Right.
contained it in a handheld. So when this goes off, it's just bigger than what this could possibly do all this size.
Oh, wild.
That also looks like a lightning bolt. So imagine if like an artificer made grenades that had spells inside of them, and this is just what they look like. So like you pulled it out and whatever the spell was. That
would be really cool.
So one just looks like a giant flame, like a fireball constantly trying to blow up. This one would be like, this one could actually be a prismatic orb.
Okay, yes. What is that other one?
So like this is like prismatic orb grenade where, can you imagine like so imagine like having an Artificer-Wizard that could create grenades based off the spells they know.
That would be baller as hell.
That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Phylactery of a Draco Lich. Yeah. Thinking more of a lens. You could cast spells, maintains concentration for you. Interesting. I could definitely see this as like, if you wanted to make it a magic item, I would see this thing could give you clairvoyance. Like you could look through it and it would basically be casting clairvoyance for you.
Why am I also feeling like this could kind of be like Iron Man's little chess piece?
Oh yeah, just like an energy source.
Something that like is embedded in you for some reason, maybe.
The Eye of Sauron's cousin. Thinking about the Eye of Sauron kind of concept, what if this was not necessarily like the eye of a deity, but what if an eye of a great one or an ancient one? Like this is all that's left of like some ancient being.
I like that.
Like maybe you can tap it for information. Maybe it acts like an oracle.
Oh, that would be very cool.
So like, you know, maybe either whether it's an item that you could carry around or an item you could adventure to.
It's like in a fixed location or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple different ideas. I definitely feel like most of the ideas we're coming to the conclusion that it seems like it's something that's
okay.
You know, I think we're getting the vibe that this is somewhat of a containment.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question is, do we feel better making this a party-centric, plot-centric, or environmental-centric? As in, the ideas would be party-centric, something that the party would adventure to obtain, to be able to utilize. Plot-centric being, this is what you're trying to stop someone from obtaining, or you need to obtain this to win the game. Like it'll hurt the BBEG, whatever. And then environmental centric would be like an oracle, something you can go and interact with, but it doesn't change your actual, you don't need it for completing your plot line and your quest.
But but
you're also not going to take it with you. Those are the three categories I tend to look at when I want to like something.
No, I like that.
Because it tells you how much interaction the party can expect to have. So, okay, so I really can't get over just how much of like prismatic orb vibe this gives me.
Okay.
So I'm thinking just doing a party-centric item here.
Party-centric? Okay.
So something that they could adventure to get. Because I'm looking at chromatic, not prismatic. Chromatic.
Yes.
So it is a 4-inch diameter. You know, it's a hand or a soft, it's like about a softball, maybe a little bit bigger than a softball.
Okay.
But it's a 4-inch diameter sphere of energy that you create that you can see within range. But you choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder for the type of damage, range spell attack, and if the attack hits, the creature takes 3d8, right? So that's a first level spell. So what I'm thinking, to take this, imagine a great cool magical item being made by a wizard artificer multi-class.
Oh,
but that you know, we don't really hear about the great names are usually level 20s, which means you have to be solo. But that doesn't necessarily mean your creativity could make a name for you. So I'm thinking like a level 20 equal 10 wizard artificer. Learned all about magic, but then learned to be able to like contain it, right?
So
this item.
This is a still picture. I want you to look at the colors and see how they're layered all the way out.
Yeah.
I am imagining, especially with this idea of chromatic orb, that center thing is cycling through all those colors, and those colors are in a constant
this entire thing
cycle of colors. And so as a result of that, yes, that could look like lightning now, but in a second it could look like fire. In a second
that's the idea. Yeah, no, that's the idea. So here's what I'm thinking for the item. A wizard artificer created this, and what it does when you hold this, you can just, when you cast spells through this, you may choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder as your damage. Just period. That's all it is. All it does is it's just an arcane focus that when you cast through it, any damage type you want, not addition to, just full on change. Imagine the fun you could have with that.
Is it all damage or just one of those types of damage? If I have a spell that does bludgeoning damage, can I change it to one of those? That's what I mean. Is it all damage? Is it all damage?
I think yes, in the sense that the only reason that wouldn't make sense is like if you were summoning a rock and throwing it at their face, the rock doesn't become a fire. But for the most part, bludgeoning damage would usually come from something like force, which is just another type of damage.
Magic Stone. Magic Stone is a cantrip. I touch 3 rocks that are in my pocket, and I make them magical, and I can throw them 60 feet and it'll do damage according to my intelligence modifier.
That's the imbued rocks doing the damage, not the spell. I don't know how to define that difference, but you know what I'm saying is I think it has to be the spell itself doing damage, not like I imbue your sword and now your sword does fire
damage. What about theoretically Meteor Swarm? Because I'm pretty sure that has bludgeoning damage in it as well. Or any of the earth tremor spells.
So maybe it would be more, okay, so maybe it's not magical damaging. Maybe it would have to be you can change any elemental damage into one of these. So
okay,
I'm more comfortable just saying that when casting a spell, an elemental spell, you may change it to any of these damage types.
What about necrotic damage, radiant damage?
Yeah, I'd let those be on here because you can't change to them, you can only change from them. So I'm okay going away from something that's like a magical, especially if you can't go to it, right? Because this is kind of honing you in on
it is one of these
chromatic orb can do.
Yes.
I mean, unless you wanted to go so far in saying that you can switch any of these types with another one of these types.
That's what that was my original question, is like, is it every other type or is it any?
I was trying to just say I wasn't trying to be that complicated, but it needs to be. But the idea was just if I'm casting a spell that's going to do, I guess, a magical or elemental type of damage.
Psychic damage?
No, because again, that does feel like it kind of needs to be its own. Like, how do you change what's happening in the head to physical fire?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this? As an arcane focus, the chromatic focus is what we can call it.
Okay.
When using this when the item as a magical focus, you may turn any of the following damage types into another on this list, and then you just list these out.
Okay.
So that's how it would just read. So yes, that's what I think this looks like.
I like that a lot, and it's simple.
It's so simple.
It's so
and
simple,
honestly,
and it's so.
You could give that to a level 3.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the end of the world.
It's just changing damage type. It's not adding. It's not making it more powerful. And honestly, that's something that, while it may not be the best spell focus, I'd hold on to that.
Heck yeah.
Even if I'm not using it all the time, I'll still pull it out every now and again.
Especially with one that does this. That's cool shit.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, so how are we with that name too? The chromatic focus.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So it's called the chromatic focus. It was made by a wizard artificer. I actually might put this in high point. Like this one, I might, because I think this one is literally so universal. There's no addition that would, I think, make this feel so dangerous that you couldn't give it to at bare minimum a level 8. Like, I don't think anybody would argue at a level 8 or later.
Shoot, I mean,
I could make the argument for a level 3.
Sure.
I could make the argument for someone getting this like as their backstory, but I could understand like 4th edition or even 3rd edition maybe needing this to be pushed out a few levels. Sure.
Real quick, does it require attunement?
No, because it was made by a mortal and especially not a level 20. Like he was only a level 10 each. So I'll even go so far as to say that because he's not a max level wizard or artificer, he wouldn't be able to make an attunement level item. And I think that this is low tech enough that it could even be considered rare, not legendary.
Artificer, I wouldn't even think it's not even very rare.
Like you could probably he probably made like a half a dozen of these. Not like he's not making hundreds. But I could easily believe that this is a set of 3. Like there's like maybe 3 of these out there. And hell, maybe we could do that eventually where maybe we'll name this guy because he's gonna go in high point. So I gotta name him soon.
Sure.
Maybe we'll name him. We'll name it after him. Maybe it'll be such and such as focus. And maybe we'll make a couple others and maybe there'll be a whole set. Because I like the idea of having like 3 of these like in the world. because again, you know, artificers tinker, they have like slightly different versions of it, and then I wouldn't mind having like a nice little set of his, kind of like Mordekainen has a set of stuff.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. All right, are we happy with that?
I'm happy with that. So I remember last time we had a little list that we were going off of. First on the list was what is it, and I would say this counts as an item.
Yeah, or a focus.
And then it's what is it made of? And I would say it's probably contained in like something. It could be like glass or whatever, but like
we can say maybe some exotic metal. It's not quite silver or gold or anything, so we could just say that it's like you know, an exotic type of metal that contains the magic.
I like that. Then we have what/who made it, what level of craft, and we decided that it's going to be a artificer, half wizard, level 20 mortal.
And we'll just call it rare. I don't even think it needs to be very rare. I think we just call that rare.
Next one is what is its lore? How did it drop into the game? We just talked about that. He was tinkering around. He's got a couple sets, you know, he's made some experiments. He's done some other things.
I like the idea of like his whole thing is not to create, like I like the idea of the character that I'm going to create for High Point is it's not about the end result item. Like it wasn't about creating an item that could do this. It wasn't even about containing spells, because I mean that's basically what a scroll is.
Sure.
But I like this idea of they took the idea of a scroll is just a spell waiting in the ether. It's not I want to contain spells. It's more of a we already do this. So instead of containing a spell to be used later, it's been done. Who fucking cares, right? There's wands of fucking fireball. He's bored with it. But what he wants to know is if there are things that can be powered by magic, and there are things that can store magic for later use, what's in the middle? What is powered by magic that would otherwise be done for later use? Like it's one thing to have a magical item powered by magic.
Sure.
And then it's another to have magic come out of an item. So instead of putting magic as power, like instead of just putting raw energy, what if I put a spell as the energy? That's the lore. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
That's the lore I'm going with. He's not just infusing items with magic to make them magical, and he's not just putting a spell in to have it come out later. He wants to put a spell in the item and use that spell as the battery.
Interesting.
And that's where I like the idea of that's where this came out. He wants to know what would chromatic orb do as a battery. So that's what, like, I'm looking at the lore of that's why this item great. He didn't think about it.
Interesting, like the idea of energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right?
Just altered,
and so the idea of when I put magic into it, or i.e. through it, right? It mixes in with the cyclic energy that's in there. And because what's coming out, what I've created, the spell that I've cast is only the spell that it casts. So it can only ever be the spell that it casts.
Right.
But as it goes through this prism, it has the ability to cycle through and come out the other side with one of the other. And I just love this like thought process.
That kind of just sounds like it just happened by accident. And this sounds better to just, he doesn't know what he was creating.
He's just fucking around.
And this was like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't sound like this is
like,
what
that's
it was
lightweight
expected.
Why you would be an artificer and a wizard. It's because you like fucking around.
Exactly.
Like, you just out here want to like fuck with shit and like see what happens.
So that's our lore. This was I wanted to know what chromatic orb would do as a empowering item. And even if you want to write a little bit, no, the other two. I don't even mind saying that those are all what all three are. And we might be able to discuss if he went one step further and said, well, can I marry it all? But I think that would be the three that I would want in the set. He tried to recreate it. And again, because these things aren't made with design, every time he did it, it had a slightly different outcome. And I kind of like that. And you were talking about a legendary item. What if that's just the set? What if when you have all three together, what if they harmonize and you are able to stack it? What if that's the weird key is they just stack? So if you're holding two of them and you cast a spell, if they touch, they basically act as one. If they all three touch, they basically act as one.
What if imagine because it does kind of look like it's flat. Imagine if they had some sort of weird like apparatus so that they actually look like little sliding lenses.
Well, they're not an orb. So what if you just stack the lenses? So every time you cast it through, when it went through, it got its imbuement.
Yeah.
So it goes to the first one, changes damage, goes to the second one, increases damage, and then it comes out the one you get to choose, right?
Wild. That would be so sick.
I like this lore. So that, yeah. So we can talk about the other ones later, unless you just want to put like a little asterisk.
No, let me just real quick. What are the three you said you get to choose?
So this one you can choose.
You could choose. And
another one is random.
Random.
And then the other one is
added damage.
It increases the damage by the sediment.
By chromatic orb amount.
Yeah, by the amount of chromatic orb. I like it. Makes sense that the first one he made randomly changed it. Tried to recreate that one, honed a little bit, and was able to like you could choose it. And then I kind of like the third one. It was just a fuck up.
So I like this. This is a 3-part item.
Yeah.
This is a 3-part item that has 3 pieces, and they could be found separately in your world or whatever the case may be. But when brought together, they allow the caster to increase damage and come out with all damage.
No, it's not a 3-piece set. So the first one was the prototype.
Which one?
The randomized.
The random one. Okay.
That's the prototype. He tried to make the second one, and it worked. So then he wanted to make it again. He wanted to make another piece, and that one fucked up, and that one increased the damage. So then he decided, well, wait a second. I have one lens that isn't worth it, so he chucked it, and that's somehow got lost. Now that's in the world, right? So that's probably the one that the random one's probably the one that the players will actually find randomly, right? Like that's the one you're most likely going to find, is the one that changes it to a random one. That sounds like a lot more fun. But the other two, he decided, are lenses, right? These are lenses to his pair of goggles, because he's a wizard.
His goggles are his focus?
Goggles are his focus. So
it is an artificer. That's
so it's not
sense.
A 3-piece set, it's a 2-piece set. You find the broken lens first, realize there's an improved one, and then when you realize you find that improved one, you realize it fits to a pair of goggles. Then you realize, wait a minute, this pair of goggles is missing a lens, and it's not the broken lens.
Well, imagine you just find it in the goggles.
So you find out there's a pair of goggles and this lens that you get to choose your type, that fits in the goggles, but you're like, where's the other lens? So you find out there's another lens. The other lens is adding the fucking damage. So when you bring them both together and you wear the goggles with both lenses, you get both effects. That's your legendary item, is the goggles. You get to choose your damage type and increase it by the 3d8. Those are the 2 things you get if you have all of it together. But only if you have the goggles. So you can have both lenses and use them individually, but only when they're installed and worn as the goggles do you get to use them simultaneously. This is what I'm going with.
Interesting.
This exists in the high point. Because and you were talking about like how you were saying
Facts.
like the idea of like you could change the lenses. So imagine when you find the goggles, right? You find the one lens and you're like, oh, it's missing the lens. You find the other lens. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Then you realize, wait a minute, this other lens has like a bar that comes out. And then you find out that this one can also have a bar that comes out. And that bar is meant to hold other lenses. You know how like you have the people who have the magnifiers?
Yeah.
So they have like multiple lenses here and you're just like flicking one at a time down. Imagine that is actually the real lenses, has like 3 lenses on each side, and you can, whichever ones are down are the ones you're using. So what if that's his like ultimate item, is he was just creating the ultimate pair of goggles to just make anything. He wanted to imbue something, boom, this lens helps him see the magic that's inside of it. This lens helps him put magic in it. This lens helps him do more powerful, like imagine every time he's tinkering stuff, he's just like click, 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 click. He's just changing lenses to change how he deals with magic.
That would be wild.
That's it. That's what's that's what this is I'm gonna make the goggles and I'm gonna decide like all 6 lenses. This is it. This is just one of 6 lenses in the entire set of these goggles. And it's all gonna stem from finding the one broken lens.
If they are now lenses, are we still calling it the chromatic focus?
It is, yeah, because they're all gonna be their own individual focus. Right? Like each lens is in and of itself a focus. Only when installed onto the goggles will it be able to add onto each other. So even if you held 2 lenses, they do not interact, and there's nothing you can do to use them at the same time. Only when installed in the Wizard Artificer's goggles sets do they interact, because the goggles themselves will be a magical item, and their ability is when things are installed, it connects them. Like that's the only magical ability the goggles have, is it connects the lenses. All right, that is and we can actually just call that the chromatic focus lens, to specifically call out that that's what it looks like, is like an individual lens. or we can call it the Chromatic Lens and then just call it an Arcane Focus.
Okay.
How about that? Just the Chromatic Lens.
I like that.
All right. Well, that one's done.